ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له هو الأول والآخر هو الملك القدوس السلام هو الرحمن الرحيم وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله أرسله الله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وعلى أصحاب سيدنا محمد وعلى ذرية سيدنا محمد وسلم تسليما كثيرا. I begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I begin in His name. He, the creator, sustainer, and maintainer of the complexities that exist within this vast universe and of the complexities that exist within the depths of our soul. I begin with His name, acknowledging that He has blessed me, my family, all of you and your families. He has showered blessings upon us, blessings after blessings. I acknowledge that some of those I am aware of, I can count. I can take account of those blessings, and I am keenly aware that there are many, if not most, that we are completely incapable of acknowledging and recognizing. And regardless, it inspires me, and it should inspire each and every one of us to say from the depths of our heart, from the depths of the being that He has created in each and every one of us, to say, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. To express that gratitude. And among the things that we are grateful for are the blessings of a day like this. This is the day of Jummah. This is the day of gathering. It is the day upon which we come together and we celebrate those blessings and remind ourselves that Alhamdulillah, we have some time to go. Because it will also be a day like this, a day of Jummah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will decide, indeed He has already decided, that all of it will end. That there will be no more chances, no more time. And alhamdulillah, brothers, sisters, we have some time left. And amongst the blessings that we count on this day and on every day is that most beautiful and noble of blessing, and that is the ability to say that we are followers of His final prophet and messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are those who follow in the footsteps of that most incredible human being that ever walked the face of this earth. That most incredible person whose personality and whose characteristics reverberate throughout the universe, who inspired all creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who brought blessings and mercy and compassion to this world when it seemed that it would run out. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us capable and make us able to continue to follow in those footsteps, and make us amongst those who follow in those footsteps and inspire others to do the same. Amen. Brothers and sisters, I greet you today with the greeting of that beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. If we examine the history of Islam, particularly focusing in on the very early years, history that we are very familiar with, we come to a time when the Muslims were not only small in their numbers, but they were small in their sense of self. They were small not only in their influence and impact, but they felt and they thought of themselves as small. You see, we know that they were going through this process of persecution where, the Muslim registries that the Quraysh were putting together were very real. Right? It was a time when not only being Muslim, but even being related to a Muslim was a threat to your existence. It was potentially a life sentence or a death sentence. And We know that at that time, brothers and sisters, the Muslims, not only were they going through these struggles, not only were they being victims of the oppression of their society, but they were also mentally in that state of mind. They were in the mental state of victimization. They were self-victimized. And if you know anything about the mindset that comes with such a trial, you would know that the pain of the incident that occurred, the pain that someone or something may have caused you, is painful indeed. May Allah protect each and every one of us. But the pain in the mind, the mental torture and torment that comes with constantly living your life, believing yourself to be a victim of something, considering yourself to be less and small and unable, considering yourself to be a victim of a situation, that mental torture, brothers and sisters, can be far worse. And it can have far-reaching impacts on us or on those people and on the people that come after them. And that was the state of mind of the Muslims. And it was in this very context that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a few ayat that when at first glance it's hard to understand how. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this context where the Muslims are struggling in this way, He reveals to them the ayat of Surah At-Teen. وَالتِّينِ وَالزَّيْتُونِ وَطُورِ سِينِينَ وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ. You see, the scholars of tafsir, when they give us the explanations of these ayat, they help us to understand the depth of these simple poetic verses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is swearing, He is calling upon the fig and the olive. But when He swears upon the fig and the olive, He's not just swearing by those, by those simple elements of nature. It's a symbol for the land of Palestine. It is a symbol for that land that is known for its figs and its olives. Essentially, He's swearing by the land where, essentially we can say the land that was ground zero for Christianity. For Prophet Isa alayhi salam, right? And He also swears by Tur Sinin, right? The mountain in that region that we know is essentially ground zero for Musa alayhi salam and the religion of Judaism. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by these ideologies, these religions, these great world religions. We know them as, Abrahamic faiths. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ, by this very secure, this safe city, the city of Mecca. What we understand from these ayat is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first, when He calls out those other great religions of the past, He's acknowledging that those traditions were charged with the spiritual and the moral leadership of the world. Christianity and Judaism before that. And so when He follows it with وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving a clear signal to the Muslims that you are next. You will now be charged with the spiritual and the moral leadership of the world. Now it's, we need the scholars of tafsir to understand this, but the Arabs of the time, Muslim or non-Muslim, they understood the language of the Quran. They spoke the language of the Quran. They knew immediately what was being said in these simple verses. They understood the depth of this claim. And for the non-Muslims, for the enemies in fact of Islam, for them it was a laughable claim. And for the Muslims it was a confusing one. In this time when we are struggling and suffering, and we consider ourselves to be so low, and we're not even sure if we're going to make it to tomorrow, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that we will be charged with the spiritual and moral leadership of the world. Why? You see, brothers and sisters, Allah is trying to break that mindset that they're in. That victim mindset that they're in, where they feel so small and consider themselves so weak and powerless. Allah is breaking it. How? By giving them a sense of their mission. By giving them a sense of the grandness of what they will be involved in. By connecting them to something that is far greater and showing them that yes, in the short term there may be struggles, there may be challenges, but you cannot get caught up in that short term because there is something far greater, a far grander mission that you will be charged with. And this is preparation. This is what will prepare you and make you capable of bearing that torch. SubhanAllah, brothers and sisters, I feel like we could definitely use a dose of that sense of mission today. I feel like we could certainly use a dose of that strength that comes with knowing that we too are going to be charged with a grand mission that connects us with something greater than just our simple daily lives, the things that happen today and tomorrow. And indeed we are. That is why we say we are Muslims. That is why we say we are followers of the Prophet ﷺ, because we are we are claiming ourselves to be part of that tradition that is indeed charged with, currently, spiritual and moral leadership. For Muslims and for non-Muslims alike. For anybody who we come into contact with, anyone we encounter, we should be exhibiting that. Yet, brothers and sisters, there are some major challenges. There are some major obstacles to our ability to fulfill that responsibility. There are two in specific that I'd like to highlight. Specific challenges that will either, if we overcome them, empower us to take up this torch of spiritual and moral leadership, or we'll fumble it to the ground and someone will have to take it up after us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need us to do that work. It is our honor to be doing that work. Right? The first of those obstacles, it is the fact that, brothers and sisters, we as a Muslim community, the ummah that was once known as the ummah of ilm and ulum, we don't take the knowledge of our faith seriously. Now don't get me wrong, by the way. We take knowledge seriously. MashaAllah, we're one of the most educated communities in this nation. And education is a critical part of the Muslim world and the Muslim mindset in general. We value education. And we pursue it if it makes us money. Right? If there's financial benefit to be had, yeah, go for it. But if there's not, then why are you going this route? Why are you pursuing that? And when it comes to the knowledge and the deepening of our knowledge of our faith, even of something as basic as deepening our knowledge of Iman, we don't take it seriously. You see, you invite a speaker, mashallah, he's very well spoken, he's incredible, he's inspiring, to talk about something that, like an emotionally charged topic, and you'll fill out the hall. The event will be sold out. But then you hold a class, even if it's with the same person, you hold a class to gain some knowledge, to grow in our knowledge of Iman and Islam or whatever else, and the numbers are smaller. The numbers are far smaller. You'll struggle to fill a room. And if you fill that room, or not, most of the people who showed up forgot their notebooks at home anyways, right? We don't take it seriously, and we need to. We should. Each and every one of us. Because at the end of the day, each and every one of us is going to be charged with some piece of that work. We cannot assume that work will be assigned to one person among us, and everyone else will just mind our own business. We don't have a clergy class in Islam, right? It is accessible to all of us because it is meant for all of us, even if it is a little bit. And the second obstacle is that, brothers and sisters, we are pulled between two extremes. As a community, we are pulled between two extremes. And on the one extreme is the so-called conservatives. Honestly, I have trouble calling them conservatives. The so-called extreme conservative group, which really conserves nothing of the message of Islam. But they, the extremists, they'll point out some legitimate political concern or some legitimate financial issue that they have, and as a result, they'll commit incredible atrocities in the name of Islam. Okay, so at least that mentality for most of us is not tempting, but the fact is that there is that push on that side. And then there is probably the more tempting extreme, the other extreme, from we can call them the so-called progressive group. And their idea of progress, their idea of growth, is just blend in. Just look like everyone else. Talk like everyone else. Speak like everyone else. Eat like everyone else. Drink like everyone else. Be like everyone else. Smell like everyone else. Blend in completely so that there's nothing remarkable or unique about you. And what happens when there's nothing remarkable or unique about us? When there's nothing a little bit strange about us? Well, we have We no longer have anything to contribute to society from that faith tradition. We no longer have anything that we can give to society. We no longer have anything that we can add, because we're just like everyone else. And we have the same ideas and the same thoughts and the same traditions that we come from, and the same knowledge backgrounds, the same influences, the same concerns. Brothers and sisters, this goes back, by the way, to the first issue, the first obstacle. Right? We're being pulled and pushed by these headwinds from the different extremes. And we're pushed this way and we're pushed that way. And in order to resist these pushes and these pulls, we have to be firmly rooted. We have to have deep roots within our tradition. We have to at least be able to say, when we feel the push from either side, we have to be able to say that we can resist because we have knowledge. We have some understanding, at least of our iman, at least of our faith. And I acknowledge, brothers and sisters, that a khutbah is probably not enough time to deepen that knowledge very much, but maybe it is valuable to at least get started. I want to just talk a little bit about something that will deepen our understanding so that we can walk away with something to say that today the depth of our faith increased. You see, everyone knows from Hadith Jibreel, if you went to Sunday school or wherever else, we know the basics of Iman, right? What is it? The 6 articles of faith. We tell it to the non-Muslims when they come to visit us as well, right? We believe in Allah and the angels and the books and, etc., etc. We go on like this. Now, Imam Ahmad al-Marzuqi, a very prominent scholar who worked on ideas of Iman, and in one of his works he talks about this concept. When we say Amantu Billah, when we say I believe in Allah, and he talks about our misunderstanding of the statement. You see, Amantu Billah, if you translate it, it doesn't properly translate as I believe in Allah. The ba here, bi, or billah, is not in. Otherwise, the language would have been fi Allah, right? But we don't say we believe in Allah. And think about it. Whether you're Muslim or not, I mean, even some of the atheists out there I could possibly claim, most people believe in some kind of a divine God concept. Across the world, most people believe in God. They have a concept of divinity. What we are saying when we say Amantu Billah, the ba implies a companionship. The ba implies with something. It implies something happening over time. It implies a consistency. So when we're saying Amantu Billah, we're saying we believe with Allah. We engage in this process of belief on a regular basis, and Allah is the primary companion in that process. And this ba, by the way, I know I'm getting a little bit grammatical, but it's useful to understand. This ba is necessitated by the verb itself that is used, amantu, right? Which we translate as I believe, but the root of this verb is amina, which means to make something safe, to make something secure. It is as if the raging waters of dunya are pushing us left and right and threatening to drown us, and we say amantu billah, meaning we have anchored ourselves, we have secured ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have that sense of safety now. We have that security. Now, brothers and sisters, when we make that claim and we live our life according to that claim, the fact is that we are engaging in a lifestyle. It's not just something we do on Friday. It can't be. It's not just something we do when we're praying and then the rest of the time it's irrelevant. It's a constant part of our lives, our waking lives and our sleeping lives. This idea of anchoring yourself to Allah implies it's, like I said, constant. And this lifestyle, there are certain things that you are unable to do. When we say, and we really feel it in our heart, Amantu Billah, we are unable to do certain things. Even if everyone else around us is doing those things, we're just unable, we just feel bad about it, right? And we hold ourselves back. And we find ways around it, and we avoid those things sometimes. And sometimes we find ourselves immersed in those actions or behaviors, and we just still continue to push away. It is a sign of that lifestyle. And also, by the way, we find ourselves knowing, I shouldn't do that, and then going ahead, now we have to question the strength of that anchor that we've claimed to put with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are we really anchored to Allah? And also, just as there are things that you are unable to do, there are things you are able to do. There are things you are empowered to do when you say, Amantu billah, when you engage in this lifestyle. And that, we have examples of that as well. But a simple one. We fast in Ramadan for 30 days, right? And then when we tell our co-workers and colleagues, and they're like, wow, that's impressive. Could they do it? Could they physically do it? Of course. I'm sure they could. And you probably tell them that. You can do this. Will they do it? It's not likely, right? Yet, most of us, we're empowered to do it every year. And for many of us, it goes by fairly quickly. It goes by before we even realize it. Another example, for my sisters who dress modestly and wear hijab, that is an incredible sense of empowerment. Could others do the same? Absolutely. Absolutely they could. But it requires you to be empowered and motivated and to feel a sense of rightness in this. To feel it in your heart that this is good. This is right. That is empowerment that comes from that lifestyle. And brothers and sisters, this lifestyle that we claim to when we say Amantu billah is not the easiest one. That is a reality. It's a fact. We can't deny that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that as well. And so as a response, He gives us 5 gifts. 5 beautiful gifts that empower us and enable us in this lifestyle. And inshallah, we'll continue that conversation in the second khutbah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to empower us with our knowledge and with wisdom. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to empower us to act upon the knowledge and the wisdom that we have. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to empower us to do good wherever we see it and to avoid evil wherever we see it. Brothers and sisters, raise your hands and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to strengthen your iman. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Brothers and sisters, when we make the claim, Amantu billah, when we follow as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us, and tu'mina billah, we are making a claim to something that is no less than a lifestyle. And it is true that it is not the easiest lifestyle to live. Right? It makes you feel a little bit strange amongst everyone around. Right? But the Prophet ﷺ, he says, glad tidings to those who are strange. To those who come off as a little bit strange when they adhere to this lifestyle. To those who come off as a little bit different than everyone else. A little bit unique. And this is a part of our tradition. It is something to have pride in, but Allah acknowledges the difficulty of it, and so those other 5 articles of faith, right? Those other, we know, like I said, we know the hadith of Jibreel, so I don't want to go through and repeat it over and over again. But those other 5 articles of faith, have you ever looked at them as gifts? Have you ever thought about how they are Allah's response to you saying that you believe in Allah? He is giving you these gifts to empower you and enable you in this lifestyle. And we'll understand these gifts. Let's unpack these gifts. It's as if you've joined this group. You've joined this organization. We call it Islam. Right? And a part of joining this organization, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you this package. He says, you'll need this. You'll need the 5 things in here. It'll help you get through this lifestyle that you have chosen to live. This powerful choice that you've made. Number 1. When we say we believe in Allah, when we act upon that belief, the fact is that we may be walking down a slightly different path than everyone else. The fact is that we come to forks in the road where most people are walking this way. Most people are walking that way. And that way, there's lights, and there's, excitement, and noise, and music, and it's bustling with people, and people are laughing and having fun and eating, etc. It looks so tempting. And then there's this other way. There's fewer people. It's less populated. It's less crowded. In fact, sometimes when you walk down this other path, you feel that you're the only one walking down this path. You may feel this way at times at your workplaces or at school even. And you feel alone. And that is where that first gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes in. Amantu billah wa malaikatihi. The angels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created these noble and beautiful beings, these pure beings. And even if you are alone on that path is crowded with the angels. That path is crowded with those beings that Allah has created. And not only is it crowded with them, each and every one of them, they stand to your left and to your right. And they write down what you do. They stand in front of you and behind you, protecting you from dangers. They stand around you, singing your praises and praying for you. And when you mention Allah's name, as we learn in the hadith, they come, they gather around, and sometimes they even pile up to the heavens. You're not alone. That is the first gift. You are in the company of these angels. And the second gift, when we choose to live this lifestyle, the fact is that most people, when they live whatever lifestyle they live, the standard that they use to make their decisions, according to that lifestyle, is usually their whim. It is their desires. It is what satisfies them. It's what makes them feel good in the short term. It is what immediately rewards them. The short-term mindset that comes with this. And the gift here is that ultimate standard, the books of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, kutubihi. And specifically the book that we all read and understand on a daily basis, the Quran. Right? If we're making decisions based on our whim, and you know, I say this because it's true. There are plenty of people who consider themselves to be, religious people and faithful people and spiritual people. And then they'll say things like, well, I don't need to pray 5 times a day because that's an ancient thing. Right? My heart is in Mecca all the time. I'm praying there. There are people who decide that they want to be religious, they want to be, connected with Allah, but they want to do it on their own terms. They make their whim the standard, and that changes every day, with emotions, with logic, with whatever. But the Quran and the books of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala become this ultimate standard, this higher standard, something that we can constantly be reaching for. The third gift, brothers and sisters, Rosulihi, the messengers, the prophets. You see, everyone wants to be a part of something. We all want to be a part of some group. We join organizations, and we join clubs and cults, whatever. Everyone wants to feel like a part of something. Allah has invited you, brothers and sisters, with this third gift to be a part of that oldest tradition and that most noble tradition. You see, there are no more messengers among us. The Prophet ﷺ was the last, obviously. But we, when we are increasing in our knowledge, we are inheritors of the prophets. It's according to the hadith. We are inheritors of the prophets. We can be a part of that group, that tradition. Is there a tradition, a group more noble? Is there a group that would be better to be a part of? Is there a group you would rather enter the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the company of? May Allah make us amongst them. The next gift, the fourth gift, brothers and sisters, is the Day of Judgment. Yawm al-Akhir. Now this one's like, wait a minute, how is this a gift? Most people, when they think of the Day of Judgment, the last day, they're worried, they're scared. But the fact is, brothers and sisters, this gift represents the idea of establishing long-term goals and controlling yourself from the short term. You see, if you don't have a long-term goal, if you don't have something to look forward to, a due date, a final moment, an end to this race, it becomes very easy to just be distracted with everything to your left and to your right. You get pulled with one thing here and another thing there. But if you have a long-term goal that you're looking towards, like the Day of Judgment, if you know that there is an end to this, and I'm working towards that, it becomes easier for you to leave those short-term feelings of satisfaction. To say, you know what, I'll be okay without this. I don't have to engage in that group or that kind of talk or in that kind of food or those kind of gatherings. I can hold myself because I have something better. This is the gift of investment. And if we're investing for it, we have less to fear. Right? We really have to fear it if we're not working for it. But if we're investing towards it, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our investment. And the final gift is the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The control and the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the gift of peace of mind. This is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us clarifies to us, look, you said you're Muslim. You said you believe. You believe amantu billah, right? You believe constantly with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That doesn't mean you're going to get off easy. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden life is going to be rainbows and butterflies. That all of a sudden everything is going to be easy for you. What it means is that regardless of whether you're going through good or bad, whether you're going through times of ease or times of hardship, you can have a state of mind where you're at peace, where you know where this is coming from. These troubles, these tests, or these blessings, these favors, whatever they are for me a test. They are for me just a part of this short life. And for me, they're just signals on how I can continue to invest in the next life. When you come to terms with the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, brothers and sisters, you no longer feel anxious about trying to control things that are out of your control entirely. You can leave things in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I know this is not something that is easily achieved. But when we remind ourselves of it regularly, we find ourselves more and more at peace. Inshallah, we will find that state of mind in the things that worry us and the things that trouble us. And I end, brothers and sisters, with this parable, this story that is shared to us by Imam al-Ghazali. Imam al-Ghazali, mashallah, he has may Allah preserve him and be pleased with him. He has this incredible way of painting metaphors and pictures for us so that we understand ideas that otherwise can seem daunting and complicated. And in one of those works, he shares with us this really beautiful metaphor of a group of people and a captain and a ship. So there's this ship, and the captain of the ship and the people that are embarked on the ship, they're going to take this journey. The captain tells them, listen, this journey has a destination. We're headed somewhere. We have an end goal in mind. But along the way, we have to make one stop. We have to make one stop. It's a short stop. It's a small island. It'll be beautiful. There'll be nice things there. But you don't want to get caught up in the island. Because remember, we have a destination. And whatever is at our destination, it is far more beautiful, far more exciting, far more wonderful and awe-inspiring than what you will find at the island. The island will pale in comparison. And so they embark on this journey. They're on their way, and finally they make that stop. The stop, right? It's not the destination. And so when they make the stop, one group of people gets off the boat. This group of people, they look at the island, and they're absolutely amazed. They're so impressed with the island. The palm trees and the monkeys and the coconuts, whatever. They're just so amazed. I mean, think about it. They've been on the ocean for who knows how long. You know, they could have seen a broken skateboard and been beside it, right? So they're just so excited and they love what they see. And they just go running into the island. And they get lost in this island. They lose themselves in this island. The second group of people that gets off the boat, they are also very impressed. They look around and they love what they see. But in the back of their mind, they're still thinking, well, I have to get back on the boat. I love what I see, but I have to get back on the boat. The captain said to get back. So they come up with this idea. In discussion amongst themselves, they say, you know what? Let's take as much as we can from this island back to the boat. And so they go running into the island in what they think is organized fashion. They gather up as much as they can from the island, collecting things and burdening themselves, increasing the weight that they have to carry. And they're struggling to carry these things, and they're pulling them. And one thing falls, and another thing falls, and they have to keep reaching for them. And they're so lost, not in the island, but in the things that they want to bring back with them. And finally, there is the third group. This final group of people, they get off, they look around, and they too are very impressed. They love what they see. It's very tempting to them. And they're also thinking to themselves, but I have to get back on the boat. And they remember the destination. It's not just the boat that they're worried about. It's the destination at the end that this boat will take them to. These people, they say to themselves, let's spend a few minutes here. We'll take whatever we can just momentarily. We don't plan to take much back onto the boat. And we'll enjoy for the time that we're here. Aware constantly that this boat will leave soon. Now, amongst these three groups, which group is going to be most capable of reminding the others? Which group is going to be given the responsibility of telling the other groups, hey, the boat's about to leave, we need to go? That is that last group, because they're constantly aware and they have a deeper understanding of the destination involved. Brothers and sisters, that may be you and I. When we say amantu billah, we are claiming that we are aware of the final destination. We are aware of the purpose of this life. And there are people around us, society around us is thirsting for some leadership from us, spiritually and morally. Will we take up that mantle? Will we be able to go to others and say, hey, you're lost on this island, let's go. We have a boat to get back to. Or hey, what's the point of you taking all this stuff and burdening yourself with all of these things of dunya when we have a destination in mind? Brothers and sisters, that is what it means to be spiritually and morally leading people. And that is the responsibility of anyone who is aware of the final destination. That is you and I, if we claim to be believers in that concept of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and recipients of these gifts, of these 5 other gifts. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those who are aware of our final destination. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those who are constantly planning and investing towards that final destination. Those who are amongst the groups of people who can say that they are followers of the messengers and of the prophets. Those who make their standards the books of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who are constantly accompanied with angels, protecting them and writing good from what they do. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those who are blessed in this life and blessed in the next life. Allahumma ameen. Allahumma hdina fi man hadayt. Allahumma afina fi man afayt. Allahumma tawallana fi man tawallayt. Allahumma aghfir lil mu'minina wal mu'minat, wal muslimina wal muslimat, al ahya'i minhum wal amwat. Innaka sami'un qareebun mujib ad-da'awat. Brothers and sisters, stand for prayer.